Hey, look at that, more light. So let's see, I don't want to do anything juxtaposed to that for now, to the bowl, that top part of the rim. So let's see, how about if you, you're probably seeing that I have a couple unintentional splatters that just got on there when I wasn't sort of being careful enough to think about where this painting was and how close it was to my water buckets. But the only place where I'm a little concerned is this orange. And concerned isn't the right word. Where it might show a little bit. I've tried scrubbing it out, which I'll be discussing. But that is mostly to say that I'm going to do a second layer here on the table. And if you remember from the study, if I remember from the study too, I think I'm just going to do a little bit darker of the quinacridone burnt orange, a little bit stronger. Eventually it's going to be very dark and there's going to be a shadow, a cast shadow coming from the bowl onto the table. But for now I'm just going to add another layer of the quinacridone burnt orange. What I am going to do if I had done that in the opposite direction, that might have been, well, I'm not sure, similar to the last shape. It's kind of handy to have it going off, things running off the page, so that way if they drip right off onto the floor instead of, or your table instead of to the painting. I am going to bring in just a little bit more. I'm going to start making it a little bit darker towards the next to the bowl where the shadow is going to be being cast. So I'm just dropping in a little bit more color there. I dropped in a little bit too much water when I was trying to drop in that, but mostly I'm just having that shape kind of be drying in a direction that makes it so it's a little bit, there's a little bit of a value shift, lighter to darker. Normally I would let that dry, but I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm going to do instead is look for another shape area to paint that's not next to this guy, although this is getting pretty dry by now. What I'm going to do is the top banana. Hey, that's fun to say, the top banana. And as you remember from the banana study, mostly a combination of some lemony yellow, a little stronger lemony yellow, and then some peacock blue to bring in some green. I'm trying to get in a little bit better habit of squeezing the water out when I rinse. I feel like that's my dirty water, and now I'm sort of I'm making sure with my clean water. I can sort of test it here. If I squeeze out water from the brush onto my palette, when you squeeze it, it seems like that's usually when, if there's leftover errant color paint in the brush, that's when it will show up. So let's see, a little bit of lemon yellow. And it's a small enough shape that I'm just going to sort of do it on the fly. What I'm going to start doing, before I did an entire layer of yellow over everything, including the stem, stalk, whatever that part is called. But for now, I think I'm just going to bring in a little bit stronger of the yellow. I know what I'll also do. I'm going to get my the smaller brush, the number 4 round, which was just here. I'm going to get a little yellow-green in that. I already have a little blue in here. I could just grab a little bit of the peacock blue and mix it. But there's already a little bit of leftover here, so I might as well use it. And I'm going to start coming in here at the bottom. I'm not sure if you can hear the background of my children playing basketball, but that's kind of fun. Either way, you can tell it's not much of a value change, but there is going to be eventually a decent little value change from a lighter yellow to a stronger yellow to a little bit of green. And then where things are in shadow, even some stronger green. So I'm going to call that good for now. I'll do the same thing with the rest of the bananas here. That part of the bowl is dry, I can tell. These lower bananas are going to have some little more shading, a little more shadow cast on them. This is a little bit big of a brush, but that was taking too long with that small brush. So I'm just gonna, and again I'm gonna paint around these the stem. I suppose that part and that part technically are adjacent or next to each other, and both a little wet, so that could make it a little bit interesting. But once again, it's one of the reasons I start light, is that any sort of weird thing like that ends up really not being that big of a deal, and it's nice to just be able to be more thinking about how fun it is to paint this stuff, and not as much about tracking whether something is wet or not. I want to bring in a little bit of the darker green, but not too much water. That isn't doing anything. There we go. Just didn't have enough water and paint in it. Yep. And just for fun, let's do a layer of a second layer on the apple, because I'm sure that bold part is dry now. So for the apple, if you recall from way back when, or whenever I did it, we had this orangey red where the light was hitting, moving to a darker red, and then to a shadowy violety red. So what I'm going to do is just mix up a little bit of straight naphthol red. And around the highlight, I'm going to try to let it be a little bit more orangey red. So what I'm going to start off just for this second layer, I'm just going to start off with some water, just to start creating a rounded form. So once again, I know I'm going to have several passes to do this. So just bring in some water, and then I'm going to start bringing in this naphthol red. And you'll notice the direction that I'm holding it, I'm making sure that the naphthol red doesn't go up into that area before I'm kind of ready for it to. I certainly want some in there, but I want to sort of be in control. And by control, kind of what I mean is that I wanted a chance to make sure I didn't bring in too much watery color. This is the small brush with a little bit more concentrated color of the naphthol red. This area up here is still wet. Without getting too much into three-dimensional structure and form as far as painting or light and casting shadows, there'll sort of be, it's a spherical shape, so where the highlight is will be lighter in general, and then it'll be getting darker and cooler, somewhat cooler, as it moves away. It would certainly be fine to just let that dry like that, but while I have this shape still wet down in this lower corner, I'm going to bring in some even stronger color. This is, boy, it's looking a bit like a peach, if you want to know the darn truth. And why wouldn't you want to know the darn truth? So that was a little mixture of the naphthol red and some of the quinacridone rose. So when we did the study, you know, this area here sort of represents the upper left corner rectangle that is not getting color on subsequent rounds. It's not that cut and dry, no pun intended, but Same idea. This is really, there's a decent amount of just watery color here that's gonna just take long, make it longer to dry. And that seems, I have color mostly where I want it, and it seems to be drying fine. I'm gonna sort of clean things up a little bit. And call that my second layer. I'll probably bring in other sorts of orange, more orangey reds here, but there's only so many things I want to try juggling in each pass. Let me stop there and upload that.